one of the major gaps between like professional trainers or people who really know dogs well and amateur handlers is the confidence. I see this happen all the time where people just don't have the confidence to ask their dog certain questions or how to address certain behavioral issues. And so they either just get addressed wrong or they don't get addressed at all.
I think that's I don't even know how to make that statement better. That's exactly it. People, they find themselves without an answer, and so no answer is applied. No action is taken. And you know, if you have things happening with your dog and you're not fixing them, then you've accepted that. And as far as the dog knows, that's the standard. So you're not getting better. You're not learning anything new. You're not going anywhere. So you reach out, find somebody, get some help. Mm-hmm. I just don't think you can do it without talking to somebody.
Yeah, and your method for this was getting involved in the hunt test then, because you knew you'd be around people who knew how to handle dogs.
Yeah, that was exactly it.
And even putting yourself around people, you describe it as taking a long time to develop that first dog, which is totally understandable.
Takes a very, very long time to develop the trainer, maybe even more so. We make mistakes and we don't realize we're making those mistakes. You know, we nag dogs, we give corrections. I hear people all the time tell their dog sit however many times. It never happens, never happens, never happens. I see at the line in a hunt test, I see people walk down to the line and they're telling their dog heel, and the dog keeps going, and they keep following along, keeping up as best they can, telling the dog heel. Yeah, at some point the standard has to change, and that dog has to learn that he has expectations he's got to meet. If you give a command to your dog and you're not ready to make that command happen, then you've lost ground and you've lost authority. And my goodness, sit in a chair and judge dogs all day, one day, and you'll see those handlers before they even set up on the line. You can see that the dog is completely on his own. You know they're not going to do a good job, and they generally do not. You know, you see these really awesome handlers come down with a dog that's walking like a soldier at heel, paying close attention to what his handler is doing. They're attentive to the field. They're looking out in the field, but they don't feel that allows them to take ownership and go off and run things. They're calm. They're well behaved to get to the line with no issues. I can almost tell you on the way to the line whether they're going to do it or not.
So you're kind of witnessing a maybe I'm wrong here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a level of controlled independence with the dogs who are going to do well. They're clearly minding the owner, but they're in a good headspace where they're not off sniffing other stuff and they're not running ahead.
Yeah. If you're trying to get ahead of obedience with your dog, then they can come to the line and they're looking out into the field. They get the least little bit of experience and they start to look for where the birds are going to come from. They find holding blinds. They find even brushed in holding blinds, not as reliably, but they're looking for that. So they're attentive out to the field, but they're always aware of who's in charge. And you see it. You do see it. You see it in how they sit while marks are going off. You see it in how they wait to be sent for birds. You see it in delivery. We encourage a dog to be excited about his work and love his work, but I see so many people who come to the line and they have a dog who's just nuts to go and pick up a bird. That's his reward. That's what he gets. That's a great job. Here's your bird. But you get there with a dog who's waiting for permission to go and get the bird. You have a better chance of doing everything that you've got to do. He sits still. He sees all the birds. A dog that's not well behaved at the line seldom sees where they all went, or he'll move and it changes his picture. A dog that creeps on all three marks of a triple sees them actually from three different places. It's a very small change in his picture, but maybe it's enough to give him a problem.
Yep. How much of that can be just attributed to age, though? Because it sounds like some of the dogs that have that kind of calm teamwork demeanor where they're paying attention to the field, paying attention to the handler, part of that has to just come from, being there and doing that.
I think that dogs do, they reach a stage, I just call it growing up. I have a 3-year-old dog who in the last half a year has started to just be a better dog. And I just attribute it to just growing up. We haven't done anything vastly different or whatever. But at the same time, a dog that has carried out his own agenda for 3 years, that's not going to get better. He needs, that age is a part of it, but he's got to have guidance. He has to have a standard to meet. He has to have obedience. And if he's been wild as a March hare for 5 years, in my opinion, that's probably going to be a real challenge to settle that dog down. He's used to being able to just go as crazy as he wants.
Yeah. So you can see this, obviously you see this in an awesome dog that's 6 years old, but you can see maybe it's not as polished, but you can watch a 1 or 2 year old dog come up to the line and see that potential's there.
You bet. You bet. You can see talent and you can see effort. I think that, when you see a dog who's trying to do the right thing, you can pick that out. If you're watching a handler and a dog standing for their marks, the dog is sitting, and the dog gets up, moves, and you see that he's on the verge of just going on his own. He's all about his message to the handler is, I'm about to forget you entirely. And a dog who sits, and you can see that he's just as excited to see those marks come out. He's thrilled. He can't wait to go get them, but he doesn't go anywhere. He's making more of an effort. And when I watch professional handlers train, they insist on that effort. And when I watch less experienced handlers train, they don't hold as high a standard. And you can see it on test day, just like you see it in training. Their standard, that's what separates professionals from those of us that are just trying to learn it. They know how to hold a standard, and they can do it without getting overly excited. They don't feel like a failure if their dog makes a mistake. They just address it. And so, this is something we can all learn to do. Mm-hmm. If you go and you watch them on test day, and the dog comes back and is chomping the bird, you'll see most of the more experienced handlers will lean over and tell their dog no, or they'll tell them sit or hold. Okay. And what they're after is for that dog to sit and quit all of that. Okay. If somebody allows that kind of thing to happen and they don't address it, even on test day, and we don't allow them to train on test day, and we don't allow them to, enforce any real discipline on test day. They're supposed to know their job. But even in how you handle a dog, I don't have to take a bird from you while you're chomping it and acting like it's your bird and you're a heathen. I can tell you to sit. I can give you a command and get you to sit still and then take the bird. So when I talk about standards that professionals hold, really good handlers hold, versus standards that so many of the rest of us hold, that's a real separation between the way they do it and the way that we do it. We're happy just to get through it, and they're more attentive to how they did it. They want it to lead to better performances next time. They don't allow bad habits to build if they can address it.
Is that the big differentiator then in your mind? Because that's something, we talk about this all the time on this podcast with different trainers, is there's very little room for mistakes when something's set in place. When they're learning something, they're going to make mistakes. But when a lesson, a command, whatever is instilled and they've got it, when they slip there, that's where the standards come in, where you go, I know this, and I'm not allowing this failure anymore.
Well, exactly. And dogs, in my opinion, they're kind of trying to train you. They're trying to find out what you'll accept in terms of a standard. For example, if you're trying to get a dog to take a corner of a pond and not go around the pond, and we do, that's an issue that we try to get solid in the hunt test game. We want them to go through a corner of a pond. We want them to go through it. We don't want them to go around it. And what you'll see them do, once they understand what you're after, they will try, instead of swimming across the corner of the pond, they'll run along the edge of the pond in elbow deep water and see if you'll accept that. They negotiate like nobody's business. They're always looking for how small an effort you'll accept. And that's a huge separator between the really, really solid handlers. And now on test day, there's less you can do about it. But in training, you don't accept that dog running in elbow deep water, and we don't want that confrontation with the dog. We tend to want it to go okay and not have that. And the truth is, if you want a dog who goes straight all the time, that has to be the standard that he can get by with. Everything else is not good enough.
Yep.
And so train them to that level.